let's say, does anybody in here, have you guys read the Harry Potter stuff? How many of you read?
6.
You've read 6 of them. Okay, so you're a good example. So let's say, what's your name?
Jared.
What?
Jared.
Jared.
Yeah. Let's say you read 6 straight Harry Potters, right? You are so immersed in her language and her style and her rhythms that when you switch to another book by another author, at first you're going to be like, this feels uncomfortable. So what I'm going to tell you guys is please give a book 15, 20, even 25 pages before you decide whether or not to continue. Because some of the best books you ever will read will feel uncomfortable at first. That's what happened to me with this book. Because the only reason I kept reading is because I needed to find out why this professor connected me personally with this book. So I kept going. And at around page 40, I locked in and I started caring about the character. And the language, which I thought was weird at first, started to become familiar. And I started to really care about this book. So I read half the book that night. The next day, we played a game, came back, locked myself in the bathroom again, didn't stand up for myself again, kept reading the book, and I finished the book at 4 in the morning that night, or that morning. And so, first of all, I never read a book in 2 days. That felt really cool. I was like, wow, I'm smarter than I thought. I could read a book that quick. Has anybody read a book in 2 days or less?
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel pretty cool?
Yeah.
First of all, you know you locked into the book, right? And second of all, you kind of feel like, wow, man, I'm locked in. I'm a good reader. So the thing that I'll never forget is I was turning the last page, and I was so caught up in this book that I realized that I was on the verge of tears. And I couldn't believe this because, you know, I grew up in a machismo family. Like, if you are a guy, you do not cry. Like, there are no options, right? So let's put it this way. When I was in high school, if I was walking with my dad down the street and I got hit by a truck, and let's just say one arm was on this side of the road and like an ankle was in a bush over here, you know what my dad would do? He'd find wherever my head was and he'd be like, Matt, all I'm saying is you better not cry. That's how I grew up. So the fact that I was on the verge of tears from a book was like shocking. But I do want the guys in here to know that I did not cry. I toughed it out in the end. You guys may not know this, but it's not an official cry unless a tear comes out of the eye. And I felt it coming on, and I used an age-old tactic. I just looked up, and it soaked in. So I didn't actually cry. But do you guys know this book? It's called The Color Purple.
Yeah.
Oh.
You read it?
Yeah.
I read it, I've seen the movie, and I've seen the play.
Okay, so you know the story. So The Color Purple. Amazing book. To this day, it's the only reason I'm standing here. Because, first of all, I cared so much about the character. And from then on, honestly, I went back to all the books that I missed in high school I was supposed to have read, looking for that same feeling. This is a weird comparison. But you know, some people, they always say your first high as a drug addict is the best. And you know what? Those drug addicts are looking for that same high the rest of their lives. You know what? For me, I experienced this incredible high with The Color Purple. And from then on, ever since then, I've been looking for that same feeling in other books. And by the way, I found it maybe about 50 times. Not every book's amazing, but man, when you find a book that you just fall in love with, I heard you guys talking about, aren't you going to do an assignment about a book that you really connected with?
No, well, they have to write about a book that they recommend on the website.
See, that's awesome. So anyways, there are these episodes where you fall in love with a book. At that point, I changed my tune and I said, you know what? I want to become an author and I want to write books that make people feel things. Because, like, if you have a quiet dad, you know, like, you're almost taught not to feel things. And so I love books that make you feel things, and I hope my goal as a writer is to make you feel things. So anyways, I'm going to fast forward through a bunch of stuff real quick. I ended up changing my major not to just psychology, but I double majored in psychology and English. And I decided that I wanted to become a writer, and I ended up going to graduate school for creative writing, and I just wrote and read for 3 straight years. And when I got out, I got my first job. It was at MTV, and I was working on a reality TV show as a writer, which, by the way, is weird. Doesn't it sound strange that there are writers for a reality TV show?
Yeah.
But you know what? You guys probably already know this, but reality TV is not real. And I'm going to give you guys a quick example, because this was shocking to me. I worked on a show called Bands on the Run. So it was 4 different bands that toured America, and they competed to see who could get the most fans at their show and sell the most CDs. I followed one band called the Josh Doe's Band, and I followed them everywhere. Like basically, they take footage, camera footage of the band every waking moment. So even when they go to the bathroom, you know what the camera does? They follow them into the door, and then they leave the camera staring at the door, just in case there are some crazy sounds. They may end up using them on the TV show. So I'm going to give you an example of something that I thought was really crazy. The lead singer, his name was Josh, okay? He drove the van also. It was his birthday on a Monday. We had footage of him in a bar. He was drinking a beer. He was drinking another beer. Then a guy came up to him and gave him a huge tequila shot, like this big. They did cheers. They both downed it. He slammed the shot glass back on the bar. That was on a Monday, his birthday celebration, okay? Tuesday passes. Wednesday passes. Thursday passes. Friday passes. On Saturday, it's in the morning. Josh is driving the van. They're going to somewhere else. They're in 2 states away now. He rear ends a station wagon, crushes the bumper. It falls off. His van is messed up. We have footage of the crash from inside the van, but then we also have footage of the police saying, drilling him with questions, and he's leaning against the van, and they're asking him questions, and they're writing his answers down. What do you guys think they did in the editing process? What do you think they did?
I think they put the drinking part and then the driving part together.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what they did. So here's how it played on the TV show. Josh is drinking a beer. He's drinking a beer. He does a shot. He slams the shot glass on the bar. The next cut is him rear-ending the station wagon. So what did they make it look like? He was drinking and driving.
Yeah, like if he was drunk.
Exactly. So how messed up is that? First of all, I was like, man, this poor guy's mom, he thinks his kid's a loser now, And the kid didn't do anything. So I actually said, you know what? If I'm going to write fiction, then I'm just going to write fiction. So I'm not going to try to act like it's reality TV. So I started my first book right after that. My first book is called Ball Don't Lie. Came out in 2005, and it's a story about a kid named Sticky who has. Oh, you know this book? You're a couple pages in? Mm-hmm. So you know the main character's name is Sticky, and his girlfriend's name is on too. Her name is on too. And basically, he wants to get her a gift for her 16th birthday, and he has no money. So he's trying to figure out how to do that. That's kind of like the plot of the book, but he's also a great basketball player, and he's obsessive compulsive. Do you guys know what obsessive compulsive is?
OCD.
OCD.
It stands for when you have an extreme obsession for something. For example, some people associate OCD with having cleansingness and having to have everything clean. But there's also repetition ones where you have obsessed with the number 7, and you have to turn the faucet on and off 7 times. You're flipping the light on and off and off 7 times.
You just nailed it. So she's exactly right. So if I was OCD, I might have to put this book down and over until it felt perfect, like this. I might go until it felt perfect. Well, he's obsessive compulsive. Here's why I made him OCD is because he's a foster kid and he's passed from home to home and he has no real power in the world. So I made him try to have power over little things. So that was my thinking on that. So this book came out in 2005. It's now going to come out as a movie in September. It has some people you guys might know. It has Ludacris. It has Nick Cannon. It has Roseanne Arquette, Melissa Leo, and it has Emily Day Raven from Lost, and it has me in the movie. I have this incredible part that really just changes the face of the movie. It's going in one direction, and then it just takes a rapid turn. I'm only in there for 2 seconds, but it was a very pivotal role. If you guys ever watched this, if you ever watched the movie version of this, please do not reach for popcorn in the middle of the movie because you will miss it. It's that quick. I'm a referee in the game. And here's the thing, you know what? I thought to myself, okay, as a referee, how am I going to do this? Because basically there was a guy next to me, and I had the ball. and the cameras were pointing at me, and there were extras in the background. And I don't know if you guys know this, but in movies, they don't allow the crowd to make sound because they don't want it to drown out the actor's lines. So the crowd is acting like they're clapping. They're like this behind me. And they're like yelling, but they're not making sound. They're like, it's very weird. So that was all happening. And the director said, action. And I had the ball, and I was going to give it to him, and he was going to throw it in. But I thought to myself, okay, I could simply hand it to him. Or I could just like bounce it once and hand it to him. And that bounce really changed the movie. Right? So if you guys ever see it, just note the bounce. Okay? Anyways, because a lot of thought went into that. But so that was turned into a movie. Let me check. How are we doing on time?
You're okay.
I just want to see if I should launch into the writing. I guess I will. So let me ask you guys this before I start talking about the books. What do you guys think a writer does on the day-to-day basis? Because I didn't know when I was your age, and I didn't know any authors. I'd never met an author, so I didn't know what to expect. But now I've been doing it for a while, and what do you think I do as a writer every day? Because it's my regular job. Yeah.
You share your past information with other people?
So I write things down, and you're saying kind of like put real stories into the work? Absolutely. You know what I would call that? The brainstorming session. So I do that all the time, take notes. What else do you think I do?
Experiment with your life.
Experiment with my life? Yeah, same thing, brainstorming, absolutely. What else?
You probably read like other books to probably compare it to yours and try to see
You know
how
what?
you make yours better.
I actually read all the time, and I'll tell you why. I always tell people this. The best writing teacher in the world is great books. And that's the truth. And you know what? They say writers are the slowest readers in the world. Do you know why? They're always looking for something to steal. I know it sounds bad, but you don't plagiarize. But sometimes you'll come across a character, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, what if I had a character that was sort of like that? And then it takes you in a new direction in your work. So basically what you said. Obviously, I also write all the time, right? So I treat it like a full-time job, and I write 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. What else?
I was going to ask you, I know some authors listen to music while they're writing to give them ideas. I was wondering if you did that.
I do. I only listen to music when I'm writing first draft. When I'm writing second draft or I'm revising, I don't listen to music because I don't want the music, the rhythms of the music to mess up the rhythms of the writing. So I do in first draft, I don't any on the revision. But you know what my biggest thing that I have to do as a writer is? I go everywhere looking to steal from people. I don't steal wallets. I don't steal anything tangible.
Still words.
I steal words. I steal the way people dress, the way people look. I steal names. I'm standing up here right now, I'm talking to you guys about my life and stuff, but you know what? Secretly, because by the way, I'm tired of what I say. I think I'm boring. So you know what I do? Is I watch you guys and try to see if there's anything I can steal from you guys. Because I know who's kind of having fun, who's a little bit bored. I know who's flirting with who and may get married and then divorced. I know who's got their arm on somebody's shoulder or their chin in their hands. I'm totally watching you guys. I'm checking out the way you dress. And now I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell you something I've stolen from a couple of my books. From Bald Online. Do you guys remember the girlfriend's name?
Oh.
I forgot.
I said it. What? Yep, God, you nailed it. On2. So, On2 is the girlfriend's name, and that's kind of a random name, right? Does anybody know an On2?
No.
Probably not. Well, I'm going to tell you where I got the name. At the time I was writing this book, I was living in Venice Beach, California, which, by the way, I was there about 9 hours ago. I just flew in from Venice Beach. But I was there when I was writing this book, and I went to a party. And it was one of those really crowded parties. Do you guys know those parties where it's so crowded that to get through people, you have to like shiver through, you know, like you have to like turn to the side. So I was at a party like that, and I was with my friends, and I saw this girl on the other side of the room, and I said, I think she's beautiful. And I said, I'm going to go talk to her. And my friends were like, you're not going to go talk to her. And I was like, I'm going right now. So I started walking over toward her, and I had to do this, right? I had to think, what is the first thing I'm going to say to her? Because your opening line is important, right? So I was thinking in my head, what am I going to say to this girl? And I was brainstorming lines, you know? And you guys tell me if you think this is good, okay? You tell me if you think this is good, okay? All right? I walked up to her, and right when I got to her, I forgot all of the things I was going to say. So you know what I did is I poked her on the shoulder. I was like, did that work on you?
No.
No? Well, it didn't work on her either because she turned around. She was talking to like 3 other girls, and she turned around and she looked at me and she goes, what? And I was like, wow. So I had to make this, I had to transition it, right? So I was like, well, hello. And she said, hi. And I said, what's your name? And she said, on two. And I was like, on what? What kind of name is that? She's like, what did you say about my name? And I was like, I mean, how do you spell it? And so she goes, you spell it A-N-H-THU. And I said, oh my God, that is so badass. You have a dash in your name. And she was like, whatever.